Hello and welcome. My name is Amber and this is my TBR for the Popsugar Reading Challenge 2026. This is a reading challenge where you are given 50 prompts and over the course of a year you read books to try and hit these prompts. Last year was the best that I've done with this reading challenge and I hit 30 out of 50 prompts. This year I would like to do better, but looking at the prompts I don't actually have many books that I know hit these prompts. And I'm trying to do the challenge with books that I already own. But I do find that as I read more books across the year, I will find books that hit prompts that I didn't realise hit them when I started reading them. But what I'm going to do today is go through the 50 prompts, tell you what I plan on reading for them if I have a book chosen already, and tell you a line or two about the book if I know that much about it. So far though, I only have 13 books, so hopefully this video will not be too long. So first is a book where gardening or a garden is central to the plot. For this I want to read A House with Good Bones by Kingfisher. I don't know anything about this book, but I think it's got gardening in it. I read The Hollow Places by Kingfisher last year and found that I really enjoyed it. It was very atmospheric and I hope that this one will be as well. A book that features a platonic friendship between a man and a woman. I want to read Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. This has been on my TBR for this specific challenge for the last 3 years, maybe more. So we'll see if I actually get to it this time. About Eleanor, who is a bit of an oddball and believes that her life is completely fine. I saw it on a list of recommendations for books that meet this prompt, so I suppose it's got a platonic male-female friendship in it, which, if I'm honest, is something that I think we need more of in books. So often you'll have strong male-female friendships and then they develop into romance. And I want to see more of strong male-female relationships where they're just friends and neither of the characters are gay. So hopefully this book will deliver. A book that you meant to read in 2025. For this I chose Blood Like Ours by Stuart Neville, as I started it in 2025 and I was supposed to finish it then, but I finished it this year instead. This is the second in the Blood trilogy, and rather than telling you what the second book's about, I'll tell you what the first book is about, as I don't think I can tell you about the second book without spoiling the first. So in the first book we have two perspectives. We have the perspective of a woman who is living on the road with her daughter and doing everything she can to protect her, and we have the perspective of an FBI agent who is hunting a serial killer who is draining the blood of the victims and severing spinal cord. A book that starts with the letter Z. I'm reading Zhara by Jae Jones. I got this in an Illumicrate box. I've got no idea what it's about, but I like the artwork and it begins with a Z. Now the next few prompts I don't have books that hit them. There's a book about women astronauts. I keep seeing people recommend Atmosphere for this by Taylor Jenkins Reid, but I read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and I didn't really like it, so I'm not leaning towards Atmosphere. So if you've got other recommendations, let me know. Then there's a book with an overweight main character whose story isn't about losing weight, a book about a granny hobby, and a book about a sexless marriage. I don't have anything for those prompts yet. Then a book with a Type C character. I had to look up what a Type C character was. I've heard of A and B, but not C. But if you are like me and don't know, Type C personality is someone who is logical, analytical, accurate and rational. So for this I chose Undeath and Taxes by Drew Hayes. This is the second in the Fred the Vampire Accountant series, which is a humorous series about Fred, the vampire accountant. His undead life is nearly as boring as his living life until he goes to a school reunion, meets an old friend, and then starts to see more of the wider paranormal world. And Fred is someone who is definitely accurate, logical and rational, which is quite useful for his line of work. A book about a horse or with a horse on the cover. I'm reading Stalking Horse by John Francome. This is a horse racing thriller about a jockey who gains a stalker. A book with a dad as the primary caregiver, and a book with pop or sugar in the title. I've not got anything for these prompts yet. A book featuring a character with a hidden past. For this I'm reading If There Be Thorns by Virginia Andrews. This is a follow-on from Flowers in the Attic, which is a book about 4 children forced to live in an attic. It's the third in the series and follows the characters after their life in the attic, and their secret past is that they were in the attic. A book set in Michigan or written by an author from Michigan, and a book about new beginnings. I've not got anything for those yet. Probably going to be easy to find a book about new beginnings. I just can't think of one at the moment. A book less than 260 pages. I'm reading The Seeing Stone by Tony DiTerlizzi and Hawley. This is the second in the Spiderwick Chronicles and is about a family who moves to an old mansion where they discover the world of fairy, and it's about 108 pages. A book about your favourite event in the Winter Olympics. So I don't tend to watch the Winter Olympics, so I don't know what my favourite sport is. I have watched a bit this year, and I'm finding that I prefer the sports with lots of like flips and whatnot. So I need to learn what that sport is, and then if there's any books about it. If only I went for figure skating or ice hockey, because there's so many books about that. A love story that defies social boundaries. So I wasn't sure whether this meant love between people in different social groups, or if it meant a relationship that society would frown on, which does sometimes include relationships from different social groups, but can also include age gap romances, probably anything in the dark romance category. So I'm not sure what I'm reading for that yet. And then we've got quite a few prompts that I don't have books for. So they're a book about teen angst, a book with a character who does Pilates or Legree, a book about a bachelorette trip, a book about a book club, a book you were hoping would fit into a prompt but doesn't. Now that one is probably going to be easy to fill. I'll just pick any book that I want to read that doesn't fit into any of the prompts. Then a book about postpartum, a book that explores influencer culture, a book with a character who navigates infertility, then a book with a character who has curly hair. This I want to read A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon by Sarah Hawley. All I know about this is that it's a romance about a witch who fake dates a demon, and apparently she has curly hair. A book about debt. I want to read Little Thieves by Margaret Owen. This is about a maid who steals the identity of a princess, and I think she's in debt to someone. Again, this was one where I was looking at a list of suggested books and this was on it. A book that takes place during harvest season. I don't have anything yet for that, but I'm bound to find something. A travel ghost story. I've chosen Murder Road by Simone St. James. Again, I saw this on a list of suggested reads, but I don't actually know where the ghost comes into it. It's about a couple who pick up a hitchhiker. I thought the hitchhiker was going to be the ghost, but it says that they're covered in injuries and then later die in a hospital, which suggests that they're not the ghost, unless they then become the ghost. But it could be that they've been killed by the ghost. I don't know. Hopefully it's not the case that they were killed by a ghost, and the fact that they're a ghost is a spoiler to the book, because then I've been spoiled and I've just spoilt you. So if that's the case, sorry, I guess, but hopefully not. A book that makes you feel FOMO. So I don't actually think I've ever read a book that's made me feel FOMO, so this might be a difficult prompt to meet, but we'll see. A book with an underwater civilization. I've not got anything for that. A book about college. So I'm assuming when they say college, they're meaning college in the US and not in the UK, as they're a little different. But I suppose there's no rules as to what I go for, so I could go for either. Or of course, college in a different country, or college in a fantasy world, which is probably what I'll end up doing. I've not yet got a book for this, but I probably have a few contenders. Then we've got a few more that I don't yet have books for. So a book with a trans or non-binary protagonist, a book that makes you want to travel to Italy, a book about a mob, non-fiction or fiction, a book about a pop star, a book with any type of fruit on the cover or in the title, a book with a character who runs a marathon. Then we've got a book outside your comfort zone, and I've picked Babel by R.F. Kuang, or Babel, dependent on how you want to pronounce it. I much prefer the pronunciation Babel, but I'm sure I heard that the correct pronunciation of Babel is in fact Babel, but it just doesn't sound as prestigious, which I think probably fits more with the school. So I got this book when it came out, and I've meant to read it every year since then, but I still haven't gotten around to it. I think a big part of this is because it daunts me, so I keep putting it off. It's quite a big book, and it sounds like it'll be dense. I don't really know what it's about, apart from it being set at Oxford University and being about translation. But maybe this will be the year that I actually find out. Then we've got some advanced prompts. I never really know why they're advanced because they never seem more difficult than the rest of the prompts, but there we go. So we've got a book in a different format than your usual, and it suggests physical, audio, ebook. So the problem with this is I tend to read physical, audio, ebook quite often, but I did think that I might read some manga for this, because although I do read manga, I don't read it that often. But I've not yet picked out a specific one to read. A book inspired by a real song, album, band or artist. I don't yet have anything for this. Again, a book that springs to mind is by Taylor Jenkins Reid, but again, I didn't like the book that I read by her, but maybe her other books will be different and I should give her a second chance. However, considering I'm trying to read books that I already own, and I don't own anything by her, that does sort of count her out. Then we have one prompt to read 2 books, and that's 2 books written by real life partners or spouses. I don't yet have anything for this. A book that features birding, I also don't have anything for that. A sapphic comic, I want to read Rat Queen's Deluxe Edition Volume 2. This is by Kurtis, Wiebe and Owen Gieni. So Rat Queens is a comic series about a group of battle maidens. They're constantly getting into trouble, drinking too much, getting into bar fights, and just causing havoc wherever they go. It's a very diverse book and has at least one sapphic main character. A book told entirely through letters. I've not got anything for this. It's not a format that I tend to like, but maybe I'll find something. A book with a shadow daddy. For this, I'm finally reading A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I am actually currently reading this, so I'm going to hit at least one prompt from this challenge. So this is about a girl who is taken to a fairy realm after she mistakenly kills a fairy who is in wolf form. I have grown a little bored of shadow daddies. They have been very popular the last few years. So far, we haven't had much shadow daddy in this, so I can't really tell you what I think of him yet. A book with a mention of your zodiac sign. So I am a Taurus, but I've not yet got a book for this. And finally, we've got a book about Afrofuturism, and I don't yet have a book for this. So that is everything that I currently aim to read for the Popsugar Reading Challenge. I know that as I read more books, I'm going to find books that hit more of these prompts. But I also feel that I'm going to struggle with the prompts this year. So if you can think of any good books that you think I like that hit the prompts, then let me know. What I will do is I'll leave my Goodreads want to read shelf in the description, as that has a load of books that I actually have on them. And if you've got some spare time, feel free to have a look and make any suggestions of books on that list that will hit these prompts. There are a lot of books on there though, so I don't expect anyone to comb through them trying to find something. But if you want to, feel free. Also, if you're taking part in the challenge, let me know what you intend to read in the comments. And as always, like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will catch you in the next one.